I don't have any screens down here. Hold on. Okay, so again, I'm gonna do banana today, and banana. It's kind of fun, but it is not as easy as you think. So I'm gonna start with a new screen, kind of wide screen there. Remember, this is the wide screen here. And then before I start, I'm going to cheat and find myself a banana online. So I'm gonna go to the internet, go to Google, type in banana. Banana? Is that a banana? Uh-oh, banana images. And so I like bananas that go, this one's kind of good, something like that. But of course, it's the wrong way. I really want it to go the way I drew it on the board. For some reason, my brain needs it to go the other way. So if you do find something like this, oh, I got a zoomed in banana here. Can I copy this? I guess it won't let me copy that one. Okay, let me find another banana. Look, there's a drawing of a banana right there. Look at that one. Don't do this one, though. You want to try and, the goal here is that I'm making realistic looking, the key to doing realistic things is to, just give me a banana. Really? How about this one? That's kind of in the shape, but not quite the exact angle I want, but I'm going to go for this one. Again, I can right click on it, copy image, go over to Illustrator and go edit, paste. And there's my banana in Illustrator. Once you have it in there, you can shrink it down if you want. Get it to fit in my artboard. Now the key here is, again, making nice and smooth shape. So some of the things I'm going to do with the banana will be to, I am not going to draw the stem part up here. I'm going to make that a separate object. So whenever you're doing things, think of things that are separate. You don't have to make everything one object. I might even come along and just go straight across here and then just make this a separate object than this, and then try and get them to blend together nicely. How you can get them to blend together nicely is choosing the same colors on this side as it is on that side, and it just blends together. And so again, the shape is important, and so the minimum amount of points is what I'm looking for. So I'm going to kind of start in the corner here, and again, I'm going to zoom in and kind of go around here. And so I might not even, like I said, do this area here. I might just go across like that and then go down here. Make a nice curve there. Go down here, make a nice big curve here. And then go all the way over here, make a nice curve there. And then go across to here. If it starts covering your thing, you just turn off your stroke. There we go. And then you can just turn that off. And so you'll notice I did not go perfect and the edge got kind of messed up. And the reason why is you can adjust your points later. Okay? Right after, even if you put your points down, you can always go back to your white direct selection tool and you can adjust your points. Now, if you want to adjust an angle that is different, like this one, if you notice, if I start clicking and moving this angle, look how it messes up the other side. You see that? Look at that. It's messing up this side. If I want to move this angle down, you see that? So how can I do that separately? You hold down the Option key on the keyboard, and if I hold down the Option key, it allows me to move a directional arm separate than the other one. Look at that. Again, so if you're moving directional arms and you have them moving together like this and you want to move them separate so that they move separate, you hold down the Option key and you click and drag and you can move the directional arms separate. Option key. Same with over here. You'll notice if I start messing with this side over here, starts messing with this side, try and get it without moving, and just try your best. There we go. So again, this is going to mess up my and you'll see right here, if I wanted to angle this a little bit so it follows this better, again, holding down the Option key on the keyboard, I can move this directional arm like this. Look at that. Beautiful. See that? Beautiful. Beautiful. This is a little messed up here. I don't like that. Let me move it a little bit there. And a little bit there. That's a little better. Okay, so again, I made just a simple shape, and I did it with using the pen tool and adjusting the directional arms. Again, just the directional arms with this tool right here, this one right here. So when I'm done doing that, of course, I don't want to have the banana over top of it. I might move the banana over a little bit. And my shape is still here. Again, to fill in that shape, I'm going to use the eyedropper tool, and I'm going to go over and suck up a color. Then I'm going to start with my gradient mesh. And you can exaggerate a little bit with the gradient mesh, but again, to do the gradient mesh, I want that line. You can see with a banana, if you zoom in, you can see with a banana, the banana has this kind of line that goes down right here. See it right here? It's kind of a flat area on the top of the banana. So I want to try and get that line that goes down here like this. So when I click with the gradient mesh, again, this is the gradient mesh tool, I'm going to kind of click where that line is. See where the line comes down? I'm going to kind of click right here. And if it doesn't do what I want, which it didn't do, notice what it did is it sent the thing all the way over to here. Okay, and it kind of made a mistake. This is all nice right here. This is perfect right there. But boom, it did that. Then I'm like, ah. So I'm going to undo that. I'm going to see if I can try. Maybe I'll click up here. That's not very good either. Maybe I'll actually click on the line here. Let me see what that does. Oh, it went down there. No, that's no good there. Let me see if I click here. Almost, but it did it over here. Again, I don't want it there. I want it to go all the way up to here. And I don't know how to control it to figure out how to control it to go exactly where you want. Let me try and click a little closer to this edge here. Ooh, that's a little bit better. I can almost move that up there. And then move this. I can move it down a little bit. That's close. I really want it to be up there, though. I might have to exaggerate this like that. So I might be able to get away with that by moving it up like that. But again, I was trying to get the line here. And notice you can move directional arms here. Oh, I didn't want that. But I can use the... Oh, that's not adjusting this. I want to adjust this one. Whoosh. Oh, this is not adjusting what I want there. And it's not very good. It's close, though. Let me zoom in here. Banana's not easy. Let me zoom in really close. There it is. I'm going to move this arm. No, that arm. There's one for this. I'm going to move this down. Struggling. I might have to make a new banana shape. It's not getting the line the way I want it. That's why I didn't like this banana. Let me rotate this a little bit. There we go. Let me try again. I'm going to try again. Banana shape. Okay, Let me adjust my shape again. It just didn't work. I wasn't getting the shape that I wanted as far as the directional arms to go. Let me try again. Might take you a while to get it exactly, bless you, the way you want it. Okay, let me try again. So here's my basic banana shape. Let's see if I can get the directional arm to go in the way I want. So again, I'm going to use the eyedropper and suck up a color. Oops, got to select it first. And suck up a color. Okay, maybe I move this over. And again, I'm going to try and get a line to go straight down and around. So I'm going to use my gradient mesh, and let's hold our fingers down. It's always going to jam. Look at that. It keeps going there. I think it was better last time. It's close. I'm going to move this up here. Okay, let me change the color. Let's see if I can make it work. So I'm going to put a lighter color in there. And kind of maybe a lighter color there. And then let's put a darker one kind of next to it. So I'm going to go and make another gradient mesh kind of right next to it. And then I'm going to make a darker color there. Woo, too dark. Not yellow enough. Need some yellow. Ooh, green. Darker. Ooh, that's kind of greenish. I guess we're going yellow. Again, I put two lines now kind of next to each other, and it's starting to get the look I want. And then you can actually even put another one in there, and I might even click along this line right here, and then maybe make that a little brighter. Make that a little brighter, back up to my banana color. Maybe a little bit brighter. This one maybe a little bit darker even. Maybe this one even brighter. They could be a little greenish, right? There we go. And then so again, contrast. I might make this the dark. If you use your eyedropper, you can actually suck up a color there. And then let me click on this one and suck up a color here. There we go. It's starting to get the look I want. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you can see, again, once I got the first one to kind of follow the contour I wanted, then I made a second one, and I kind of followed it as well. Did you see how the second one followed it as well? And then I just started changing some colors. Again, I'd probably make this little shape over here as a separate object. And so if I was going to do the little bit of the little kind of brownish part there, I could just do it as a separate object. And then I could give that a color. It's kind of a brownish look there. And even if you give that a gradient mesh, then you can really make that look kind of like what it needs to be. So really quick, as you can see, I just kind of slapped that together. I made it kind of a rough shape, and I put a gradient mesh right in the middle. Did you see that? Very quick, easy. If you want it to blend a little better with the fruit, you can actually blend it a little bit with the blur. Remember doing blur? So I might even Gaussian blur that just a little bit, not too much, just a little bit there. And if you Gaussian blur a shape like that, if I zoom in there, you see just a little bit at the edge, so it's not so harsh. Just a little bit of a blur there. Let me move it just a little bit. There we go. Move it. There we go. Let me rotate it a little bit. And you know, even put a little bit of brush action there. and even put some black. Oosh, that's too big. I want a small black brush. I gotta make a small one. Where's size? And add a little bit of dots in there. It's all just with a little brush, and of course added little dots in there. I'd probably and then of course I have little dots here too, right? Maybe just get your brush, and of course I'm using black. Probably maybe brown would be better. Maybe make it a little bigger. You get the idea. Remember, you guys did a lot of nice brush stuff with your animal, and right, I saw some of you really using the brush that way. So again, using a brush, you can put little textures in there. Let's talk about adding this part over here. So again, you'll notice I did not do this kind of stemish part, if that's a word. Stemish. Stemish? Stemish. We're going to use it as a word, stemish. So, you know, the stemish part is a separate object. So I'm going to drag that kind of back over where it was, kind of line it up there, and we're going to make it as a separate object. Then the key here is how do I blend them together so that they work real well together. And so let's make this stemish part as a separate object. To do that, I'm going to use my pen tool, and I'm going to draw my stemish piece here. And once I draw it, you're doing, oh, that's okay, it's a little off. Stemish piece here, crossed. There we go. Oh. So I have my stemish piece, and of course I'm going to fill that in with the color. Okay, filled it in with the color, and so we look at it, and let's move this out of the way. And you see it doesn't really blend very well, does it? So the key here is that I'm going to use a gradient mesh to make it blend. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is select the entire object and probably put the color that is closest to the edge inside my object. So I'm going to kind of click right there. Try and get that closest object right there. And it's still not quite the right. Let me zoom in. What is this color? Let me get a color here. Didn't want to do that. Let's well, let's click it. Let's put a gradient mesh in there, and then let's suck up this color. Okay, that's not too bad as far as in the middle here. Maybe a little brighter to add some exaggeration here. A little brighter. There we go. And then this one, I might be able to select that and then use the eyedropper right there. Usually if you suck up the color right there next to it, that's better. See how this kind of blends pretty nice right now? And then these edge point, this one right here, we can grab that point right there at the end, use the eyedropper and suck up right next to it, right there. And then the same one, there's a point, oh, no, I clicked on white. I didn't want to do that. And then, again, there's a point right here on the end. I'm going to select it and use the eyedropper and suck up the color right next to it. Right there. Usually if you do that, you'll see, oh, how does it blend now? Pretty good, right? Okay, so again, how I got the two shapes to work really well together was made a shape, use the gradient mesh, select this point, use the eyedropper right next to it, select this point, use the eyedropper right next to it, select this point, eyedropper right next to it, and it should kind of almost, it's not quite perfect, but it's got a little bump in it. Hey, that's okay. Bananas aren't perfect. But it's not too bad, and I know I'm exaggerating the shape here. And then, of course, the last part would be the little little stem thing where it connects to the and here it is. And so you know, this one, it has a lot of different textures in it and stuff like that. So what could I do to make this look like that? What would be a good brush? What does that look like? Which brush?
Is it a hair fiber brush?
hair fiber brush, or it's kind of a little bit more of a soft. What's a soft brush? Some of you used it. Watercolor brush. Doesn't this look kind of like the watercolor brush right there with the little lines? Yeah. Yeah, I might, just make a shape. There we go. Let's just go and make a little shape here. It can be a little rough, little rough, little rough, little rough. Make a rough shape. Okay, so let's give that a color. Let me move this over a little bit. Let's give it a color. Use my eyedropper. Suck it up. Oh, gotta select it first. Suck it up. Oh, let's get dark. Whatever. We'll go dark, dark. Whoosh. There we go. That's good. Okay, so let's talk a painting inside a shape. So, wouldn't it be nice if I could just grab the watercolor brush and just go right over top of that and only have it draw inside the shape? I only want it to draw inside this shape. So even if I draw outside the shape, it doesn't show. It only shows in the shape, like a mask. You guys all did masks before in Photoshop or something else, I hope. So how do I draw in a shape? Okay, so there is a tool to do that. It's draw within a shape. So I'm going to go and find my watercolor brush. So let me find a brush. Here's my brush. To get the watercolor brush, I'm going to go to brushes. Where was it? Brush library. Which one? Artistic. Watercolor brush. Remember that? And here we go. Look at it. See how it's kind of rough and bumpy like that? See, it's kind of rough and bumpy. So I'm going to select that. Okay. And then I only want to paint this. And let me make it a little bigger. I think the brush size is a little small. Let's make it a little bigger. I don't know. I don't know how big it is compared to my shape. But I'm going to select my object. And then I'm going to go down to this feature right here. And you got this one, draw normal. Look all the way down here at the toolbar here. This is how you can draw within the shape. Select your shape. You got draw normal, which would just go over. This is draw behind or draw within. Okay, so this one is going to limit it to that when you use the brush, it only goes where the shape is at. It's the very last one down here at the bottom, underneath the no right here. And it's draw inside, and so when I use the brush tool now, you see how you got these little dots around the outside of your object? You see that? So if I go and draw like that, it draws, and notice even if I go outside, it keeps it inside there. And I'm building up, and it won't go outside the shape. You see that? Okay, so a great way to draw so it stays inside an object is this option right here below the toolbar here. Perfect for my it's pretty good. Watercolor brush was a good idea. You got all the different color texture in there, and it only stayed inside that shape. Now when you're done with this, make sure you click back off, because again, it's limiting it to that one shape. So if you click off that, down here, it's now a shape. Now this is all grouped together too. If you think about it, when I did the brush, it makes new objects, right? They're all new objects. Now those new objects are attached to that original shape that I made. So if you click on this, it grabs it as a group, and you can move it as a group. You see that? So it sees it as a group. And then I'm done with my banana. I can delete the graphic, and with, oh, look at that. A+ for sure. Okay, so let's do the shadow. So I want to do a shadow. I can select all my objects. I can group them again, even more group. I can duplicate them. I can fill them in with black, complete black. Oh, this is not going to work because of the stem, but that's okay, because this is a special shape now. And let me ungroup that. Let me just get rid of this. There we go. It's not going to matter. So I have all my shapes here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to squish it down. So it's a shadow. I'm going to put it underneath my banana here. And then I'm going to send it to the back. Send it all the way behind my banana. And then I'm going to blur it by using the blur option, Gaussian blur. And then if I preview it, you can see the blur. blur. There we go. And you get your, oh, I think I blurred it too much. But you get an idea of how I think I blurred it way too much. So if you do an effect like the blur and you do it too much and you want to adjust it, the place to adjust all effects is located in the Appearance window. If you've never seen Appearance before, it's under Window, Appearance. Appearance takes in effect of all the stuff. So you'll notice in the Appearance window it says Gaussian blur there. So I blurred it too much. So under Appearance, as I selected the object, I can double click on the Gaussian blur and I can turn it down if I did it too much. Maybe something like that. And then maybe change the opacity as well. You can do that within the Appearance window as well. And so we'll be looking at Appearance window a lot more. That's not the best shadow I ever did, but you get the idea. Okay, who's ready for a blueberry? Okay. Last one, and then I'll let you work the rest of the class, and I'll kind of come and help you. Some of you I probably should talk to as far as making sure you're on keeping pace. Let's look for a blueberry. You want me to save this banana? How about we delete it? Oh. Okay. I've made too many bananas in my life. We can delete that one. Okay, let's get a blueberry. Blueberry. Is that blueberry? Yeah, it's blueberry. Here they go. Again, one of the problems with the blueberries is that it's really hard to make one and then duplicate it. You know, so if you make one, you would think, oh, I can just duplicate it, and they're not all the same. They're all a little bit different. Plus, you got all this crazy action going here with the little stem where it connects. So, and then there's a lot of texture in there. You're gonna have to put a texture in there and stuff like that. So let me copy this and go over to Illustrator and paste it. Oh, paste. Sorry. Oh, I did want to delete. There we go. And so I'm going to zoom in. It's not very high quality blueberry. But again, to do the blueberry, I'm just going to use the pen tool. Don't try and make a circle. No blueberries is perfectly oval. No blueberries perfectly oval. So pick which one you want to do first. I'm going to do this one right here. Least amount of points you put down, the better. Remember, you can always adjust your lines if it's not perfect later. And so again, you can always adjust your directional arms after you've made it. So don't stress about when you're making things. You can always adjust them later. Whenever you are adjusting things, you can always adjust them later. So once you have a blueberry kind of ready, again, the same thing. There's a lot of stuff going on in a blueberry. You might think it's nice and easy, but it's not. So again, I have darkness over here, kind of light, and then there's like these reflections because of that. And then I got this crazy stem thing with a little gradient in the middle there. Woof, this is going to be complicated. Let's get started. I made my basic shape, and then I'm going to use my eyedropper. I'm going to suck up a color, the basic blueberry blue. Is that blueberry blue? That's something like that. Or maybe a bluer blue. There we go. Bluer than blue. Then, of course, there's a dark area over here, and then a very bright area here, and then another bright area here, and then this is kind of middle over here. So to do the blueberry, I'm going to use the black, or the gradient mesh here, and of course I'm going to do the dark one over here first. So I'm going to go and click on that. And then I'm going to darken that up with the eyedropper. And notice how the edge is not quite dark over there, so I'm going to zoom in there. And if you want this edge to be dark, you can click on the edge there and suck up the dark color as well. So it's all dark. Maybe this is not quite so dark. I might even lighten that up just a little bit. There we go. And then let me zoom out, and then I have this highlight right here. A great way to keep your gradient mesh from getting too messy is to put a mesh where the line is currently at. So if I use the gradient mesh tool right here, I can click on the line itself, and it'll keep from making too many lines. And then I'm going to make that a bright color. Maybe not super bright. We just want it to be somewhat bright. We can do the highlight a little bit later. And then we have a light one up here as well. So I'm going to do the light up here. That's pretty good there. Remember, you can move points around. And if you move them really close together, you can see what happens. If you move gradient mesh real close and starts overlapping, you get kind of a really harsh line there. So you got to be careful when you're putting things together there. I'm going to move that over there a little bit. So that's a good start. I kind of like the blueness of that, so I might put another one in there kind of right about there and make that kind of a bluer than blue. Well, there we go. That's kind of nice. And then one of the things you notice about the an object that is on a surface is sometimes the reflection of the light bouncing off the surface bounces back onto the edge of an object. And so one way that you could do that is actually put a really close gradient mesh along the edge somewhere, like maybe way down here, and then really lighten the bottom one. So let me move this down here, and then make this really bright. And you'll see I get this kind of reflection of the light that's bouncing off it. Did you see that? You ever notice that when you're looking at something, the light might bounce off something and then back on? See how it's kind of bright right there? So you might want to do that. That helps it look volumetric, voluminous. That's the word. Let's add the detail to my gradient mesh. You'll notice we've got this really bright kind of shape right here, and this white kind of shape. So I'm going to use the pen tool. I'm actually going to make this shape here. Let's just cheat a little bit. We'll go right over top of this. And I'm going to kind of make a shape that looks like this. And then I'm going to fill it in with a really bright color. And I'm going to take that and put it over top of where the edge would be here. And then, of course, what do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to blur it by using the Gaussian blur. And blur it. And then as well as blurring, you can even go and give it an opacity if you want to even blur it better. And so again, don't be afraid to make a nice highlight like that. Did you see that? Again, it was just a shape. That's all I did was make a shape. Here, like even there's a kind of a dark shape right here. Look at that. I'm gonna go cheat. Let's make a little dark shape right here. Make it a little rough because the blueberry's kind of rough, isn't it? Put that kind of where you think it is over there. Use your eyedropper tool. Suck up a dark area. Go to your blending mode. I'm going to use blur, Gaussian blur, and blur that. Oh, that's not blurring very well, is it? Why is it not blurring? Uh-oh. Why am I not blurring? Blur. Effects. Blur. Gaussian blur. No? I don't know why why is that one still selected? Why? What is going on here? Still not working. I don't know what's going on. Object is evil. Get rid of it. Evil object. How about we move on? There's a little highlight right here. Let's do that one. And again, make that nice and bright. And then hopefully it'll blur. I don't know why it wasn't blurring last time. This one's not blurring either. Something is definitely going on here. Why? Oh. Why is my blurring not working? Let me draw outside my object here. Let me try again. Blur. That's blurring. I don't know why it's not working. Whatever, you get the idea. Last thing, let me do this part inside here. When you do your blueberry part where you're trying to get this stem kind of thing, you see it's very harshly contrast there because there's a lot of it's going in there. So a great way of doing that might be to do a radial gradient. And with this right here, might be an easier radial gradient. So if I go and make my little stem action here. and then I would move it out of the way. Let's do it again. And now again, we could do our radial kind of gradient there maybe, or gradient mesh. Radial gradient would probably be easier, but that would be kind of, I don't know. It's tough. Tough. Okay, let's do radial gradient. This is gonna be a tough one, I know it, but we're gonna make it happen. Not with that. We're gonna make it happen with this. Okay, so one of the things you can do with a gradient, if you haven't really worked really a lot with a gradient, is that you can do what's called a radial gradient. So if you go to the gradient options over here in the pop-up window, you'll see you have radial, which is great, but the problem is, of course, the highlight's right in the middle there. So let's get our highlight going. I can use the eyedropper as well in here to somehow I can use the eyedropper. Why is it not giving me an eyedropper? We can't use an eyedropper. No, it's not gonna let me use the eyedropper. Okay, don't use the eyedropper. Let's just make up some colors here. There we go. And then again, we're gonna do multiple. You can have multiple gradient options in there. So it's pretty bright there, and then the edge is not quite black. It's kind of a dark blue. So it's kind of a dark blue. Okay, that's better. And let's move this out a little bit so it's, oh, no, not quite that far. No. Move this over there. So there's adjustments you can do in there. It's not quite the nicest blue I wanted. Whatever. Okay, my whole point here is that you can adjust where the center of the gradient is. So right now, if you notice, it's kind of, there's a center of the gradient is kind of here, but in here it's here. And so I want to kind of move this kind of center over this way a little bit. To adjust a gradient after you put it into your shape, there is a gradient tool right here called the gradient tool. It's right here. It's a tool in the toolbar. If you look at it, it'll give you a circle if you put my cursor over top of that. And I can then click on the center point and actually move it to where I want it to be, if I can drag it. Let me zoom in here. Should be able to move this center. There we go. I can move the center point and then adjust this, the center. I'm exaggerating a little bit here, but see how I can move this center point here so that the edge and as well as the gradient, you can move this as well here. As you can see, I'm adjusting parts of the gradient right on top of the shape. Okay, that's this tool right here. It works great for the radial gradient. So I can get a better shape by doing that. And you'll notice it's a little bit better. And then we can put it where we want it there. Ooh, the colors are way off. Way off. But you get the idea how to move the center. Again, to move the center, I use the radial gradient, and it's the gradient tool is this one right here, and it'll allow you to adjust. You can adjust how the gradient is in the shape. Almost like when we were doing the brush. Remember, we were using this to paint inside there. So, again, this is probably not the best colors. I would love to have a little bit bluer than blue. I guess more purplish. There we go. And then this one too, more purplish. Purplish. There we go. Whatever. It's too dark now. Whoosh. There, it's a little bit bluer. And then, of course, you remember how to add a little texture to it. You can do texture with the texture tool. Any questions about that? Okay, demonstrated a lot of things you should practice. Remember drawing inside a shape, right? Remember doing that? gradient and adjusting the gradient where the gradient goes. A gradient mesh. And then look, this is just a shape that I blurred over top of it, right? Shape. And so on. So, you know, you can get things to blend a lot better if you blur them a little bit as well. Blur the edges a little bit. Woo, not too much. Even blurring that a little bit made it kind of blend with the background a little bit. What do you guys think? Okay? Not bad, blueberry, banana? Okay. I'm going to stop recording.